This is a cemetery story. I'm Richard Friend. Sometimes the most interesting stories begin with a forgotten gravestone. These caught my eye because of the dates. John David Arterburn died in 1919 at just 37 years old. His wife, Elnetta, died less than a year later. Nearby rests John's sister, Della, and just a few steps away is John and Elnetta's oldest son, Thomas, 4 members of one family, all gone far too young. I couldn't help but wonder, what happened to them? I started looking for answers. What I found became one of the most heartbreaking family stories I've ever researched. John Arterburn was born in Tennessee in 1881. Elnetta Virginia Earp was born in Howard County, Maryland 10 years earlier. They married in Laurel in 1903 and raised 6 children. John worked as a plasterer, but county records also suggest he served as a district constable, a part-time peace officer responsible for serving court papers, making arrests, and carrying out orders for the county courts. By every indication, he was simply a hardworking man trying to provide for his family. In 1907, John purchased a modest home on 8th Street. 5 years later, he and Elnetta borrowed $800 against it. I eventually found that mortgage, and there, at the bottom of the page, were what appear to be John and Elnetta's own signatures. For just a moment, you're looking at something they actually held in their hands. It's hard not to wonder what they were thinking that day. A home of their own, 6 children, a future they were building together. The 1910 census revealed something else I wasn't expecting. The Arterburn family appears to have been one of only a very few white families living in this section of Laurel, in what we now know as the Grove, the city's historic African-American neighborhood. Their house stood on the west side of 8th Street, on a deep lot that stretched all the way back to what was then called Yellow Row, today's 9th Street. Deeds dating back to 1881 allowed me to trace ownership of the property through nearly 40 years of Laurel history. Even after comparing those deeds with century-old Sanborn maps and modern aerial photographs, I still can't say exactly which house was theirs, but we've narrowed it to a remarkably small stretch of 8th Street. Exactly why John and Elnetta chose to live there is still something I'm trying to understand, but it's another reminder that Laurel's neighborhoods, and the people who lived in them, were often far more complex than we imagine today. But life was about to change, in ways no one ever could have imagined. In June 1917, tragedy struck twice in just 2 days. Elnetta's brother, Nicholas B. Earp, was killed when his automobile collided with a Laurel and Washington Electric Railway car near Beltsville. The very next day, Elnetta herself was thrown from a horse-drawn carriage after the horse bolted. She suffered a broken arm and a broken leg. Their young daughter was thrown from the carriage as well, but escaped without injury. It would not be the family's last tragedy. Then, the records began telling a different story. John's older sister, Della Arterburn McLean, died in 1909. She was only 36 years old. Her obituary never mentioned a cause of death, but more than a century later, her death certificate did: pulmonary tuberculosis. 10 years later, the same disease struck again. John became gravely ill. His death certificate reveals that he died at the Maryland State Sanatorium in Frederick County. Cause of death: pulmonary tuberculosis. He was only 37. As I continued digging through old land records, another chapter of the story emerged. When John died in February 1919, the mortgage on their home soon went into foreclosure. The family home was put up for public auction. The foreclosure case still survives in the Maryland State Archives. It's filed simply as Equity Case Number 5201. The original court papers haven't been digitized, so for now, their contents remain another mystery. Then something remarkable happened. The highest bidder wasn't a stranger. It was Elnetta. Somehow, after losing her husband, she found $950 to buy back the family home herself. We still don't know where that money came from. Perhaps relatives helped. Perhaps there was life insurance. Maybe the answer is still waiting, inside Equity Case Number 5201. But one thing seems clear. She wasn't ready to give up on the home where they had raised their children. Sadly, it wasn't enough. Only a few months later, Elnetta sold the house. 3 months after that, she was dead. Elnetta died in Morristown, New Jersey. At first, that didn't make any sense. Why New Jersey? Eventually, another clue appeared. Her older brother, Dr. Edwin Lee Earp, lived nearby in Madison. Despite the title doctor, Edwin wasn't a physician. He was a Methodist minister, a sociology professor, an author, and an educator whose work would later earn him a New York Times obituary. It now seems likely that after selling the family home, Elnetta went to New Jersey to be near her brother. We're still searching for her death certificate. It may provide the final chapter of this story. The tragedy didn't end there. John and Elnetta's oldest son, Thomas Byerly Arterburn, is buried here too. He was only 17 years old when he died in 1923. His death certificate revealed the same disease, pulmonary tuberculosis. 14 years. Della, John, Elnetta, Thomas. One Laurel family. 4 heartbreaking losses. 3 members of the family are now confirmed to have died from tuberculosis. Della, John, Thomas. Elnetta's cause of death remains one of the last missing pieces of the puzzle, but the evidence increasingly points in the same direction. It's difficult today to appreciate just how devastating tuberculosis once was. Before antibiotics, it was one of America's deadliest diseases. For the Arterburns, it changed everything. So what became of the children? The 1920 census answered that question. The family had been separated, but they had not been abandoned. The 2 youngest children, Elnetta and William, were living with Uncle Edwin and his wife in New Jersey. Back in Laurel, Thomas Byerly, Bessie, and Irene were living together with relatives. The house was gone, their parents were gone, but the family wasn't. Years later, newspaper clippings revealed that those family ties never disappeared. In 1929, Bessie, Irene, and young Elnetta traveled from Baltimore to New Jersey for the wedding festivities of their cousin, Ruth Earp. The following summer, young Elnetta returned to spend an entire month with her aunt and uncle. Those are only tiny newspaper notices, but together they tell us something no death certificate ever could. The family never forgot those children, and those children never forgot the family that helped raise them. Then there's Irene. She was only 8 years old when both of her parents died. Against all odds, Irene Elizabeth Arterburn lived to be 101 years old. Her life stretched from horse-drawn wagons to the internet and smartphones. She outlived every tragedy that defined her childhood. Standing here today, it's impossible not to wonder how many stories like this remain hidden beneath weathered stones. A young couple buying their first home, a family living in one of Laurel's most historic neighborhoods, a hardworking plasterer who may also have spent his evening serving as a county constable, a husband slowly losing his battle with tuberculosis, a widow standing in a courthouse, bidding against strangers, determined to save the home where her children had grown up, relatives opening their doors when she no longer could, children growing up without ever losing one another. Cleaning a headstone can't change history, but maybe it can give someone back their story. And maybe, for a little while longer, John, Elnetta, Della, Thomas, and the entire Arterburn family won't be forgotten. Research into the Arterburn family continues. We're still searching for Elnetta Arterburn's 1920 New Jersey death certificate, equity case number 5201, which may explain the foreclosure and reveal how Elnetta was able to buy back the family home, and the exact location of the Arterburn family's 8th Street home in Laurel. Their story will continue in a future issue of Voices of Laurel. For the Laurel History Boys, I'm Richard Friend.